My name is JJ, also known as Veganowledge JJ. And I wanted to come on today and talk about there are different types of vegan diets. I think one of the things that is very confusing when we are new to this lifestyle and you hear the word vegan, and I've got it right on my shirt in case you missed it. But when you hear the word vegan, you automatically think of one type of diet in your mind. And for everybody, that could be different depending on the myths and the things you've heard. Some people think of it as you have to eat big plates of lettuce. And some people think of vegan, oh, that's that processed food that looks like meat. And they assume it doesn't taste good. Or they think, oh, a vegan, it's that one guy that I saw that eats all fruit. And while there are different myths about it, the truth is that all of these things are accurate. So I wanted to kind of break it down for you in case you're new to the vegan diet. What are the different quote unquote vegan diets, or the ways that you can vegan out your diet, and which one do I follow and which one do I feel from my nutrition studies is the healthiest for you. So let's start with, first of all, one of the common ones is going to be the one that I follow, which is a high raw vegan diet. And actually, let me break this down really quick first. The first thing you have to realize about the word vegan is that it's not really a diet. A diet is part of how you practice veganism. And I didn't know that either when I first started. But vegan just means doing the least amount of harm, essentially. It's not wanting to harm or exploit animals by as much as you can, as possible as it is in your life. So the one part of that that's a really big part of that is what we eat. And that's why I think it's the most common way of thinking. Some people think vegan is automatically healthy. Well, that's not always true. Is it healthier? In my opinion, yes. But let's start with the facts about it. So the different types of diets that people follow. If you follow a diet that is, well, actually, we'll start with raw vegan. So raw just means that you're eating things uncooked. So you're not including meat and dairy in your diet, first of all. That is the common theme with all of these. But then within that, how you're eating is going to be the next important thing. So raw vegan would mean, a moment, I just wanted to close the window in case it was getting a little bit loud. So raw vegan is going to be the diet that has predominantly uncooked food in it. Food that is not cooked above 118 degrees. Now, within the raw vegan diet, you'll find that there's different ways that people even do this. There are people who are fruitarian, that they eat mostly fruit. And then there are people who are raw vegan that eat a lot of vegetables. There are people that eat a lot of dehydrated food, which is they're basically making raw vegan type recipes, but maybe they want something that imitates a wrap or a bread, and they might be putting it in a machine called the dehydrator, where it doesn't cook it above 118 degrees, but it does add a little flexibility so they can put it around their wraps and make different vegan recipes. The included in this are sprouted beans or legumes. You can sprout mung bean sprouts, for example. You've probably seen me have in my salads. So for the most part, and there are, there's always exceptions to the rule, because even though you might hear people say, well, there is no such thing as raw nuts, for example, they say that all of them, when they're processed, at least if you're not, getting it right out of the tree or something, it is cooked a little bit. For the most part, as much as possible, you're not eating anything cooked. And the idea behind this is it retains the most nutrients. It's keeping the enzymes and the kind of structure of the food exactly how it was meant to be from the ground, from the tree. And, fruit is one of the easiest things that we can digest. So that's why people who are fruitarian, they don't only eat fruit. There are those who only eat fruit, but there are also those who eat fruit and tender leaves, like, or even like lettuce, kale, spinach, those types of things. And they will add some nuts and seeds, like chia seeds and things like that. You can put that in smoothies. So this is just an overview. Within the raw vegan diet, as I interviewed Don Bennett, he shares that there's 7 different kinds of raw vegan diets, and he talks about the different versions and how healthy you want to be, and he advocates for a very high fruit diet. But within that, there are so many people. There are people who live on a lot of sprouts and living type foods. So, and then, I will say too, within this, you want to make sure that you're getting all of your nutrients in. So, whether that means to you adding a type of powder that will, give you essentially like B12, or a capsule and things like that. That's a little more in depth. So I would, suggest that you do your own research. This is not medical or dietary advice, but sometimes I will say within our unhealthy standard American diet, we are getting certain nutrients in by mistake while we're getting all the saturated fat and unhealthy animal products and cholesterol. Maybe within that, we might be getting some type of vitamin, like on our processed cereal, we might be getting vitamin D. So we want to make sure that we're getting out in the sunlight, we're getting matching that vitamin D, or we're taking maybe a supplement, depending if you have a deficiency in that. So I would suggest doing your research, and at least in the beginning, maybe taking a supplement while you're changing your diet to make sure that you're not deficient in anything. There are tons of people you can follow in the raw vegan world. Some of them are very good friends of mine, and they will be able to give you guidance. My book talks about how I developed a raw vegan diet, and I lost 55 pounds. I eliminated seasonal allergies and chronic back pain. I have shifted through this journey. I have not only been raw vegan, I have also ate whole food plant-based, which we'll talk about next. I have ate processed food vegan, and I've had times where I'm a touch of all of that, and also keeping a lot of raw foods in my life. And I would say that if you are new to this diet and you're trying to maybe reverse, like, some type of ailment that you have, like high blood pressure or chronic pain, like me, I do believe adding the majority of whole food in your diet. And what that means is whole food, meaning beans. If you're trying to transition and you don't want to be fully raw vegan, but maybe replacing your protein with beans to start with, and adding a lot of fruit for lunch and maybe vegetables for dinner, that could be a good start for you, even if you're still cooking food, and then kind of moving into the higher raw. Some people like to transition like that, but I do find that when I eat a majority of uncooked fresh food, or even in periods of time where I've ate cooked food, eating things that are not as processed are going to be a lot better for you. And if you need to add in to make your life easier, if you're transitioning and you need to use processed foods like the meat alternatives, there could be a place for them. But I would say to start where you are and start moving in that direction. For me, it was just easier to give up all of it and essentially clear out my microbiome, and that works for a lot of people. Some people like to go on all juices or smoothies to kind of switch it up, because when you're changing from one diet to another, our biome, our gut microbiome, it wants what it wants. It wants what you've been giving it. So depending on how you transition can be important too. So we've started with raw, so we know that's eating things that are retaining the most nutrients unaltered, not being cooked at high temperatures and changing and lowering the nutrients essentially in it. Now there are some people that will say that some foods become more bioavailable if you cook them, like maybe certain vegetables, maybe certain nutrient might pop out of it. And that certainly can be true if you're looking for just isolating that one nutrient. That can be the same for if you're juicing something, essentially taking the fiber out if you want something in a high concentration. So if you are interested in that type of thing where you find that right now where you are in your journey, that you want to continue to cook food, I would say that the next best, in my opinion anyway, way to do this and keep it as healthy as possible would be to go into a whole food plant-based diet. And there are many plant-based doctors who advocate for this diet. It is a diet essentially of fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, potatoes, beans, um, things like that. Seeds like chia seeds, you can still have sunflower seeds, but they you can cook everything. And I've learned something that the temperature of it really means a lot. So if you can keep a lot of your foods cooked as minimally as possible, that can also be helpful in a raw vegan diet. I'm sorry, in a whole food plant-based diet, but it doesn't have to be. That's more of a high raw plan. So like you might have a smoothie for breakfast, let's say, of a favorite fruit that you have with some greens in it. And then for maybe lunch, you have like a big salad. And then for dinner, you might have a lentil and pinto bean type stew, maybe with a lot of vegetables in it with another salad. That could be something that a high raw whole food plant-based person might have. And then, so if we're looking at whole food plant-based, this person might have oatmeal for breakfast, or like a tofu scramble, which might sound weird if you're new to the diet, but it actually is really good. And then, they have imitation type products that you can use, but that wouldn't be as whole food. You want to use fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds, and also tofu, things like that are like proteins that you can use, beans, potatoes, those type of things. So then like lunch might be um, you know, let's see, what would lunch be on a whole food? Maybe like beans and rice, for example, and maybe a nice salad or something like that. And then also for dinner, you might have a barbecue tofu with sauteed vegetables and mashed potatoes, vegan mashed potatoes, which you can just use like any kind of almond milk or many alternatives. So you can still have mashed potatoes in that type of plan. So if that fits in your lifestyle and you think, you know what, that might be the way I can eliminate eating animals. These things sometimes move in cycles. Like maybe you want to start with that type of diet and then you might want to move into having, adding raw foods if you've seen something online, but you don't think you can go all raw vegan. But then you could also look at it like, say, like a conversation I just had with someone on her show that she had me on. She came into this, I don't care about health right now. I just want to not eat animals. So it was easy for her to go away from eating her normal diet by keeping things in it that were normal. Now you can make things like you can make vegan tacos, and people are doing amazing things with different, types of beans and things. You can make a bean burger, but they also have all these products. And yes, they may, keep an eye on it. You might have a higher sodium content, but if that's the only thing that you're eating and you're getting rid of the animal product, the cholesterol, then maybe that's the way you transition into it. They have vegan fish fillets, vegan vegan chicken, vegan, all kinds of things, vegan barbecue ribs. They've got vegan, did I say fish fillet? I think because the Gardein products have that. They've got vegan steak cubes, Beyond burgers, Beyond Meat, if you want to make it into something yourself. So that's another type of way that you could eat. And of course, it's not going to be like you're only eating that. Of course, you're going to do like your normal. You're going to have vegetables within it. Maybe you are having French fries. They might be vegan. We're not talking about here like the healthiest maybe foods, but they are vegan foods, and that's what I think is a misconception, that vegans are only one type of diet. Or somebody says, well, I tried that and it didn't work. Well, what type of diet did you try? Maybe you tried a diet of only french fries and soda because you didn't know what else to eat, and that is vegan, but no, it wasn't the healthiest thing. So maybe you felt sluggish or worse because you weren't getting the nutrients that you were even getting on the regular diet. So um, I just wanted to kind of, and then within those, you can get, very strict within each of those diets, depending on the level of health or what plan you're following. But as a general rule, that's those diets people are talking about. And so when you hear someone say high raw, it just means they're eating a very high amount of fruits and vegetables. And then there are people who feel that certain vegetables aren't digestible for humans. And if we have to cook something, maybe it wasn't meant for us. There are people who follow that. And in theory, that might be right, but it might not fit within your life. So you might feel better boiling potatoes to feel grounded and eating a lot of fruits and vegetables also. You might feel like eating a big salad. You might feel like you want to be a fruitarian, where you eat a lot, if not a majority of all fruit and maybe a couple of healthy fats for your omegas. So I just wanted to come on and briefly talk about that, because I think it's something that is very confusing, and people look at it as this one thing, as a vegan diet. But in the world we live in, however it fits in your life is where you want to come into it, and then you can always let it unfold in layers and try different types of vegan diets. And of course, in my opinion, the least amount of, like, the processed food, and just like with any diet, the most amount of fruit and vegetables and nutrients you can get in your diet would be what I recommend. And that's what's in my book, How I Went from Sad to Glad. You'll see how I came through this process, and also how I reverted to other types of diets and then went back to raw. But it's also a 4-step blueprint to help you be able to move into your health goals, to transform your health, your weight, and your mindset, more importantly, to really achieve your goals. So if you'd like, there's a link in the description. There's a link in the comments that you can pick up a copy of my book. It's available in ebook, and it's available in paperback book, which I happen to have here. I love, if you do get the paperback, please email me or send me on social media a picture of you with the book, if you feel comfortable, or your pet with the book, or just a picture of the book and that you've enjoyed it. Write me a review. And if you are not interested right now in buying the book, no problem. I will send you the free audio version of the book. Just leave me a comment and I'll go ahead and collect your information, or you can locate it here on my YouTube. I do have it released for a limited time for those who have bought the book but didn't get a chance to listen, for those who are visually or hearing impaired, and also just to get it out there. I think it's really important. I have a workshop coming up soon. I have free communities online that you can join. And my main goal here is to help you go from sad to glad, standard American diet, to a different type of lifestyle, so we can save animals. And if you choose the right diet, improve also your health. And also, any vegan diet is going to be an improvement, but there are those that are healthier than others from my nutritional research. Again, I appreciate you being here. I'm Veganowledge JJ. Thanks for listening today, and thank you everyone who follows me. And I am so excited. Check out my show, Amazing Plantz4mationz. A lot of those are on the live tab, where I interview people, how they've changed their life with their vegan diet. Thank you.